Hello world, I hope you're doing well, surviving the quarantine. This is the final part, and today we talk about mission. And that might seem crazy. I know I came on here not that long ago and said the mission trip might be canceled, but the mission is not. I've had 2 trips canceled already. I've got a third that is teetering on the edge that it's far enough out, I might be able to still make it, but we'll see. So you might think, well, if we go out and do mission, isn't that really hard? If you're here in Houston watching this, you've had Hurricane Harvey. If you're somewhere else, maybe you have a similar experience where sometimes there was work for us to do as Christians, as churches, as just individuals. We could go out and we could help with the problem. In this particular case, unless you're a medical worker or in some way connected to kind of the supply chain towards that, there's not much that we can do. And in fact, getting out could actually make the problem worse, and we don't want to do that. But that's not all that mission is. And so I want to share 3 ways that you can get involved in mission. Number 1, learn. This is a great time. There's so many articles about what's happening around the world. Instead of looking at Italy and just counting bodies, look at Italy and learn. Learn about their demographics, learn about their religion, learn about their people, their worldview, their culture. As it goes country by country by country, this is an opportunity to learn about the world. And when we learn about the world, this allows us to move to step number 2, pray. Missions begins and ends with prayer. And when we reduce it into, well, missions is this thing that I go and do, and it's this trip that I take, we've completely lost it. Mission is all about what is God doing in the world, and how can He empower us to be part of that with Him. And so everything has to start with prayer. If a mission trip's getting shut down, we have to pray about that. There's still work that needs to go on, even if I can't go there. But as we see things that need to happen around the world, this is a great opportunity for us not just to learn, but also to pray. Step number 3, advocate. We need to be an advocate on behalf of others. So we can be listening and learning in that process, praying to God, and then speaking out on behalf of those who can't speak out. And so this virus is going to continue to spread to country to country to country, and there's not much that I can do about that, right? I'm just some guy in Houston. But I can advocate on behalf of other countries. I can advocate on behalf of other people. All of my nurse and doctor friends and medical friends are up to their necks in work. I can't go help them with that. I have no expertise in that. But I can pray for them. I can speak out on their behalf. When someone else is getting out of line, I can kind of stand in the gap, as it were, and call them out on that and say, hey, don't you understand how this is impacting another group of people? This is a time where we can't lean on our own selfishness, on our own self-interest. We have to see our interest being connected to others. This is actually really, really biblical. The idea that we should put others' needs before our own comes straight out of the book of Philippians. And I want to connect all of these 3 things together with the story of Joseph. We're all familiar with Joseph. He was, at that time, the youngest son, the favorite son, got a colored coat from his dad. His brothers were jealous, sold him into slavery. In Potiphar's house, he worked his way up so that Potiphar had nothing to worry about except to just put food in his mouth. Potiphar's wife made a pass at Joseph, and he wound up in prison. And then in prison, he worked his way up. And again, everything in the jail was under Joseph's control. And then finally, he became number 2 in all of Egypt. And as number 2 in Egypt, he was able essentially to save the known world, or that region of the world at that time. And so we can see that, number 1, he had no control over his circumstances. God allowed him or put him from place to place to place as he went. But the second thing is, every place he went, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. So this ties back to what I was saying about work. When I say, what are you called to do as a Christian? I'm not called to go to a job and get a paycheck. While I'm there, I'm called to be a certain kind of person. And if I can only be that certain kind of person at church and not at work, or at work and not at home, or at home and not somewhere else, I have to connect all of those together and go, here's who God has made me to be. How do I be this person in all of these different spheres all the time? And when I can do that, I never run out of stuff to do. So we see that God's sovereignty is all over this story. Even when there was nothing that Joseph could do, this fit part of God's salvation plan. And so right now, I feel pretty helpless. I couldn't book a flight if I wanted to go somewhere and do something. All of my best laid plans that I've been working on for months are about to just be blown away like a leaf in the wind. And yet, God is in control of this. And I don't understand, I don't know how this works, but I do know that Joseph's time in prison was an essential time for him. And it was a time where he was connected to the next thing that he was supposed to be doing. And so as you're thinking through, how do I practice mission? How do I lean into my work? How do I have healthy rhythms? How do I appreciate God's beauty? It seems like I can't do that from where I am. Let me flip that on its head. If you can't do it where you're at right now, you can't ever do it anywhere. And so we have to learn exactly where God has put us with the gifts, talents, resources, etc. How do we love Him, love others, serve Him, serve the world? How do we do that here? And then how do we do that somewhere else?